What's good? It's your boy Jay. That's me. AEW Dynamite from February the 14th, 2024 was absolutely awful. Before we get into it, I want to say Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Hopefully you guys have a good one. Tony Khan needs to be removed. The man doesn't know what he's doing. This show was awful. It was awful. Awful. He doesn't know what he's doing. Why in the fuck would you have the main event be Orange Cassidy versus Matt Taven in a Texas death match for no reason? It makes zero sense. Oh my God. This dude, this clown, this simpleton has no idea what he's doing. No idea what he's doing. I am fed up with Tony Khan. I'm fed up with him. I don't care who he brings in. I don't care if he brings in Mercedes Moné, Okada, Will Ospreay. They're not going to change anything. They're not. They're not game changers. Tony Khan needs to be removed. And they need to have a writing staff of people who know what they're doing. Don't split the rosters, because Collision is failing. Rampage is failing beyond belief. I would scrap Collision. I would scrap Rampage. And I would really just start to slim down that roster and just keep guys and girls that can make you money. And for those that can't, I'm sorry, you would have to be released. You could go to TNA, you could go to New Japan, you could go to MLW, the Indies, WWE. There are other places out there that said talent could work. But you cannot have 150-something people on your roster and expect for that roster to be successful. It's not going to happen. That is way too much. That's way too much. AEW's main problem is, for the last couple of years, they've tried to be on par with WWE, and they have failed. They have failed in that regard. And they are going to fail in that regard, because Tony Khan does not know what the fuck he's doing. He doesn't. He doesn't. You don't even have but 2 stories going into Revolution in 2 weeks' time. You've only had 2 matches announced that people really care about, which is the triple threat for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship involving Swerve Strickland, Samoa Joe, and Hangman Adam Page, as well as the main event, which is going to be Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Those are the only 2 stories going in. He hasn't even touched on the Edge and Christian story yet. He did a small bit during the show, but what happened should have been the main event. Edge and Daniel Garcia, that should have been the main event, because it was a pretty solid angle. And that should have closed the show, versus Orange Cassidy and Matt Taven. This is absolutely pathetic. I just don't understand it. I don't. I really, really don't. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. bringing in Mercedes Moné, Will Ospreay, and Okada, they're not going to change anything if you don't have plans for these guys and girls going in. If you don't have stories booked, if you don't have feuds booked, they're going to be just like everybody else in a couple of weeks to maybe a couple of months, to put it nicely. Because in AEW, everybody, whether you're Edge or Christian or even MJF or Samoa Joe or whoever you are, you will be mid. And that's what everybody feels like in AEW, mid. Mid-level talent. And I'm just so tired of it. I'm so tired of it. This show was not good. Let's just go ahead and get into this show. So, we kicked the show off with the first match of the night. That was Jon Moxley versus Dax Harwood. Jon Moxley gets the win via the Bulldog choke. Apparently, the Blackpool Combat Club, they're feuding with FTR for whatever reason. I'm guessing because the CMLL guys are having to do a couple of dates in Mexico, and that's why they're feuding with them. So that way they can be on the card for AEW Revolution. Who cares? It's not even really that important. Post-match, Cash Wheeler, he gets involved. And then Claudio, he comes in, he takes out Cash Wheeler. And then Mox and Claudio continue to beat down FTR. And then they stand tall. Who cares? It's not really that important. Again, if this doesn't take place on Dynamite, why is it important? No one watches Collision and nobody watches Rampage. Collision has started to mirror Rampage, as in it's another 2-hour extension of Rampage. It's like watching if Rampage was like 4 hours. That's really what it is. Moving on from this nonsense. So Renee Paquette, she's backstage with the Don Callis family. So she talks to Don Callis. So Don Callis talks about how great his family is before admitting the Alpha is in need of competition for the upcoming pay-per-view. So the best place to look is within. So Tenosuke Takeshita will take on Will Ospreay at AEW Revolution. And it's great because the Don Callis family wins either way. And they'll still be a family afterwards. Oh my God. This is so stupid. This is absolutely so stupid. Why? For what? For what? This is absolutely pointless. Why isn't Tenosuke Takeshita AEW International Champion? Why isn't he the TNT Champion? Get this man some gold. Get this guy some gold. Moving on. Wardlow, he defeated a jobber by the name of Barrett Brown. He won via the powerbomb. I feel bad for Wardlow. Poor Wardlow. I know good and damn well his ass is counting down the days that he has left on his AEW contract, so that way he can go to either WWE or TNA. Either or would be a good fit for Wardlow. Because Wardlow is a fucking beast and Wardlow deserves better. Moving on. So, we see Matthew and Nicholas Jackson arrive in the private jet earlier on in the day. They're still wearing the bloody white suits from their attack on Sting and Darby from last week. That's cool there. Moving on. Edge versus Daniel Garcia. This match went on for forever. This really should have lasted no more than 5 minutes. This went on for a good, I want to say, close to 20 minutes. About a good 17 minutes for whatever reason. I have no idea why. So towards the end of the match, Edge locks in a crossface, but then out of nowhere, Nick Wayne and Killswitch, aka Luchasaurus, they run in and they break it up, causing the DQ. And then the match ends in a no contest, when they could have done this really within 5 minutes going into the match. That way we could have been spared having to see Daniel Garcia, but I digress. So, post-match, Christian Cage and Nick Wayne's mom, they come out to ringside, and so Christian Cage, he starts to beat down on Daniel Garcia, but Daddy Magic, he intervenes, and then Killswitch takes out Daddy Magic, and then Christian Cage brings in a couple chairs. He's looking to take out Daniel Garcia, but Adam Copeland Edge slides in. And he was able to take out Christian Cage only for a second. They have a little stare down for a second, Christian Cage and Edge. Mama Wayne low blows Edge, and then Christian Cage hits Edge with the concerto. So this was great, but then again, this should have ended the show and not Orange Cassidy and Matt Taven. This really should have closed the show. This would have been a really great angle to close the show for sure. This would have been a really good talked about angle. So, So then Daniel Garcia, he goes in to check on Edge, but it's too late. Moving on. So we get a quick update on Edge to let us know that he's taken out to the back by medical staff. So Samoa Joe comes out. He gets on the mic. He's in a nice little suit. He says that he comes in the spirit of apology because he reenacted a ranking system to set up new challengers, only to see two potential challengers fight to a draw. He thought those in charge would kick both challengers to the curb, but instead in the spirit of Texas, they made the title match bigger and dumber. He guarantees that both of AEW's brightest stars may walk in, but they won't. But they'll limp out because he's the AEW champion, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. So then Swerve comes out. Swerve says that you can look at him and check his resume. You can see one of the greatest of all time. He said no one outworks him, and no one outgrinds Swerve. So you need to check his resume, and you need to put some respect on it as well. Swerve said that he's proven just how good he is, going toe-to-toe with former champions and some of the best legends that AEW has to offer. The same result every time he's left standing. And everyone is asking whose house at Revolution. Nothing changes except that he'll be holding the AEW World Heavyweight Championship over his head. So Hangman Adam Page comes out and saying that Swerve had to beat him to earn the right to get a title shot. If we're up to Hangman, though, it would be him and Joe going at it one-on-one. But it looks like Swerve has been added to the match. After everything Swerve has done to Hangman, he doesn't deserve a second shot at Hangman's time. He doesn't deserve a second of Hangman's time. Swerve doesn't deserve 5 minutes because he couldn't get the job done. And Swerve doesn't deserve this title match. So Samoa Joe begins to intervene, saying that there's no way either man will pin the other to win the match. And at Revolution, he's whipping both of them. both of their asses. And then Joe leaves the ring pissed off, and Swerve and Hangman, they stare each other down. So this is pretty good. I like it. So at least there's a story involved in this. Moving on. So we get a video package of Toni Storm's new video. It's called Wet Ink. She talks about what the tattoo she and Deonna Purrazzo share, revealing that she's added to it, promising to give Deonna the old Toni Storm and much more at Revolution. That's fine there. So we move on from that. Renee Paquette, she's backstage. She asked Deonna on her thoughts on what we just saw and witnessed. The Retro looks somewhat shaken as she says that Toni Storm talks too much and promising to break the champion's arm at Revolution. And she calls Toni Storm a bitch. So that was good. Moving on. So we get the Young Bucks versus Top Flight. The Young Bucks get the win via the EVP trigger for the 1, 2, 3. Who really cares? This thing should have lasted all but like 5 minutes. And they wrestled in their suits, which was a nice touch. But we could have done without it. So, moving on. So, post-match, the Bucks were interviewed by Tony Schiavone. As Matthew addresses the Bucks being the new number 1 contenders to the AEW World Heavyweight Tag Team Championships, the Bucks didn't run down Tony for what he has been saying about them, calling it a breach of contract and fining him $1,000 a stack before Nicholas shoves into the canvas. Matthew apologized and telling Tony not to let it happen again. They're about to do the EVP trigger. So Darby runs in for the save. The Bucks, they regroup. And then Darby calls the Young Bucks out, talking about how the mission statement of AEW from the beginning was to change the world. And Darby has yet Darby has seen them back away from that statement. He runs down the various signings the Bucks have been involved with, called them the California Crew, and the fact that they pride themselves on helping their friends out, saying all friends wrestling. And then Darby says that this is all about Sting's final match in at Revolution. Sting and Darby will be defending the AEW World Tag Team Championships against the Young Bucks, and it's showtime. So this is fine. Moving on. Although I'm trying to see what type of match are they going to have. Maybe a steel cage match, maybe? I don't know. Something. Because this is personal, basically. This has to be somewhat personal. You can't just have just a regular tag match. You have to have some type of stipulation involved. So I'm guessing maybe a steel cage. That would be kind of cool. Moving on. So Renee Paquette, she's backstage with the Bang Bang Gang and Max Caster. The Acclaim, my bad. Yeah, and the Acclaimed. So they're talking about their goals for 2024. Everybody talked about the supergroup working on their cohesiveness. Billy and Austin Gunn kind of step over each other to propose a 12-man tag team match for Rampage before cutting out their catchphrases to finish things up. And honestly, I feel so bad for Jay White. I really do. This is so stupid and so pointless. Like, this is pathetic. Moving on. Sky Blue versus Willow Nightingale. So it seems that Stokely Hathaway, he's now the manager of Willow Nightingale. When did that happen? It doesn't matter. It probably took place on either Rampage or Collision. My guess is probably Collision. So anyway, Willow Nightingale gets the win via the gut-wrench powerbomb. Who cares? Moving on. And then the main event, which was Orange Cassidy versus Matt Taven. And I wanted to burn my fucking television to the ground. So basically, Orange Cassidy gets the win. And that was it. It's just a spot fest. If you've seen one Texas death match, you've seen them all. It's nothing but, blood and, thumbtacks, steel chairs. Just the same old shit, basically. Who cares? This show was not good. It just was not a good show. I feel bad for Edge. Edge and Daniel Garcia could have closed the show. You could have done a 5-minute match with, basically just a 5-minute match where Edge wins really quickly. And then you could have done the post-match angle. But that's just me. Again, this show was awful. It just was not good. Tony Khan needs to be removed from power, and he just needs to fund AEW along with his pops, bring in a team of writers and a couple of bookers to help him run AEW. That's what I would do. But what did you guys think? Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.